How did your parents fail you? When I was 10, I accidentally spilled orange juice on our family desktop computer while watching YouTube. The sticky mess fried the motherboard completely. My dad was working from home that day and completely lost it. He grounded me for a week, took away my phone, and yelled for what felt like hours about responsibility and consequences. But here's the thing. After that week passed, the punishment never really ended. I kept asking about getting my phone back, and dad would just say stuff like, maybe when you learn some responsibility, or you don't deserve it yet. A month went by, still nothing. 2 months, 3 months. I started thinking maybe he forgot, but every time I brought it up, he'd get this look like I was crazy for even asking. By the time I turned 11, I still wasn't allowed any electronics. No computer, no phone, no tablet. When I needed to do school assignments that required typing, I had to walk to the public library after school and use their computers for 30 minutes at a time. Kids would ask why I didn't just do it at home, and I'd make up excuses about our internet being broken. The worst part was watching everyone else get better at technology while I fell further behind. My friends would text each other constantly, share memes, play online games together. I became the weird kid who didn't know what anyone was talking about half the time. When I turned 13, our school started issuing Chromebooks for homework. Everyone got permission forms to take home. I was so excited, thinking finally this would be my chance to catch up. But when I brought the form to Dad, he read it over and just shook his head. "You're not ready for this kind of responsibility," he said, crumpling up the paper. The next day, I had to tell my teacher I couldn't get a Chromebook. She looked confused and asked why. I mumbled something about my parents preferring I do work on paper. She made me sit at a separate table during computer time, doing math worksheets by hand, while everyone else used educational apps and websites. My grades started slipping because I couldn't submit assignments digitally like everyone else. I didn't know how to use Google Docs or research things online efficiently. Group projects became nightmares because I couldn't contribute anything technology related. Kids started calling me paper girl and asking if my family lived in the Stone Age. The breaking point came during 8th grade when Mrs. Williams assigned a presentation about climate change that had to include videos and interactive elements. I tried explaining I couldn't do it, but she thought I was just being lazy. When I broke down crying in front of the whole class, admitting my dad wouldn't let me use any electronics because I spilled juice on a computer 3 years ago, the room went completely silent. Mrs. Williams kept me after class and asked more questions. When I told her about the orange juice incident and how I'd been banned from technology ever since, she got this horrified look on her face. She said she was going to call home, but I begged her not to because I knew Dad would just get angrier. 2 days later, a social worker showed up at our house. Apparently, Mrs. Williams had contacted them about educational neglect. The social worker sat down with me and Dad and asked why I wasn't allowed to use basic school resources that every other kid had access to. Dad actually went to the garage and brought back the old keyboard from the computer I'd broken. It was still stained orange and some keys were sticky. He held it up like it was evidence in a court case. "This is what happens when she's irresponsible with technology," he said seriously. "Actions have consequences." The social worker stared at him for a long moment, then asked how long ago this happened. When Dad said 3.5 years, her expression completely changed. She explained that my punishment was preventing me from getting a proper education, and that they were going to require him to provide me with access to a computer for schoolwork. Dad was furious after she left, but he couldn't argue with CPS. He bought me a cheap laptop the next week, but made it clear he wasn't happy about it. Every time I used it, he'd hover nearby making comments about being forced to trust me again. It took months of using school computers and watching YouTube tutorials just to catch up on basic stuff my classmates had been learning for years.